Just flying the plane around, you seem comfortable with that?
Oh, hell yeah, it's a blast, man. I played video games before, so I know what I'm doing a little bit.
August 10th, 2018. An airline ground agent with no pilot's license powers up a 76-seat passenger plane and takes off alone from Seattle's main airport. That act sets off alarms no one ever expected to hear.
Right, 070. Approach welcome, final runway 16 right.
Welcome. Man, I'm a ground service agent. I don't know what that is.
Clear to Portland, Seattle 6 is filed up to 7017.
Okay, for this show, 16 right, so find the run.
Start it up and get it to go. A couple hours, I guess. But, yeah, I wouldn't know how to land it. I wasn't really planning on landing it.
Tonight, the sky over Seattle becomes a battleground of confusion, control, and split-second decisions. How does a secure airport unravel in real time? The answer starts here. Richard Russell, known to friends and co-workers as Beebo, worked at Seattle Tacoma International Airport as a ground service agent for Horizon Air. His job kept the airport running behind the scenes, loading bags, driving tugs, and helping move planes on the ramp. To do this, he carried a secure SIDA badge, the kind that let him pass through locked doors and onto the airfield without a second glance. Every day, hundreds of workers like Russell moved freely in these zones, trusted to handle aircraft and equipment just feet from the runways. Russell had no pilot's license. He was not trained to fly, and there is no evidence he ever logged a single hour in a real cockpit. But his job put him close to the controls. He had been with Horizon for about 3 years, long enough to learn the rhythms of the ramp and the habits of the crews. His duties sometimes meant helping with engine starts or sitting in the cockpit to operate switches under a pilot's direction. In 2017, a SkyWest Airlines pilot reported finding Russell inside a parked cockpit, flipping switches and asking questions about the pilot pre-flight checklist. Russell said he was learning about the auxiliary power unit for towing, but it was clear he was curious about more than just ground handling. The badge he wore was not just a piece of plastic, it was a master key. It let him reach the Q400, parked on a remote stand, out of sight from the main terminal. In the world of airport security, the focus was always on outsiders, not a familiar face with a valid ID. That gap, invisible in the routine of daily operations, was all it took for one person to get close to a 76-seat airliner, alone, after hours. Russell's access was legitimate. What he did with it was anything but. At 7:15 p.m., the north cargo ramp at SeaTac sat in near silence, far from the main terminal's bustle. Richard Russell rolled up in a tow tractor, alone. The Q400, tail number N449QX, waited on a remote stand, doors unlocked, no crew in sight, just another airliner parked for overnight maintenance. Russell moved with purpose. He lined up the tug, connected it to the nose gear, and began a slow pushback. No one questioned the movement. This was routine for a ground agent with the right badge and a job to do. Chocks came off the wheels. The aircraft rolled a short distance, then stopped. For a moment, nothing out of the ordinary registered on any security feed. Russell climbed down, unhooked the tug, and hustled to the main cabin door. He opened it, slipped inside, and closed it behind him. Now, for the first time, he was alone in the cockpit of a 76-seat Bombardier Q400, a position never meant for a solo ground worker. He moved through the startup sequence, flipping switches and bringing the aircraft to life. By 7:29 p.m., both engines turned over, their propellers spinning in the dusk. No alarms sounded. Airport surveillance cameras recorded the sequence, but with the Q400 parked in a blind spot, no one in the control room noticed anything wrong. Russell's actions blended into the background noise of ramp operations. As the engine settled into a steady hum, he released the parking brake. The aircraft began to taxi, rolling away from the remote stand and toward the active runway. 11 minutes had passed since the tug first touched the nose gear, The Q400 was in motion, and nobody had sounded the alarm. The Q400 rolled past the last line of parked ground vehicles, nose pointed toward the maze of taxiways that fed into SeaTac's main runways. With both engines humming, Richard Russell guided the aircraft along the pavement, navigating turns meant for seasoned pilots. No flight plan, no clearance, just a ground service agent alone at the controls of a 76-seat airliner. The airport's ground radar flickered with an unexpected blip, a -8 moving where it should not. At 7:36 p.m., the Q400 reached the hold short line at runway 16 center. Russell paused, then pushed the throttles forward. The aircraft surged onto the runway, picking up speed as dusk settled over the airport. Inside the tower, controllers registered the breach in real time.
Right, 070. Approach welcome, final runway 16 right. Welcome.
Man, I'm a ground service agent. I don't know what that is.
Clear to Portland, Seattle 6 is filed up to 7017.
Okay, for this show, 16 right, that's not the run.
Start it up and get it to go. In a couple hours, I guess. But, yeah, I wouldn't know how to land it. I wasn't really planning on landing it.
The Q400's wheels left the ground at 7:37 p.m., climbing away from SeaTac with no clearance, no flight plan, and no one on board except Richard Russell. Departures halted. Controllers scrambled to reroute incoming flights, their screens now tracking a rogue airliner climbing fast over Puget Sound. In those first moments, every system built to keep the airport safe had just been outpaced by a single, unauthorized takeoff. The story was no longer about a missing aircraft on the ground. It was about a stolen plane in the air and a control tower racing to understand what would happen next.
Yeah, I just kind of want to do a couple maneuvers, see what it can do before I put her down, you know?
And departure Boeing 464, and so I can reach out to you a little easier.
A little bit.
I'm sorry, say that again?
Sorry, my mic came off. I threw up a little bit. You know, hold on. Shoot. Man, I'm sorry about this. I hope this doesn't ruin your day.
The Q400 climbed away from SeaTac, its lights vanishing into the dusk over Puget Sound. Russell banked west, then south, tracing wide arcs above the water and islands. Radar tracked the aircraft as it swept through broad orbits, sometimes dipping as low as 6,000 feet, then climbing back toward 15,000. There was no flight plan, no destination, just a looping path across the sky as controllers watched their screens in disbelief.
Nah, everything's peachy clean. Just did a little circle around Rainier. It's beautiful. I think I got some gas to go check out the Olympics.
Over the water near Steilacoom, Russell pointed the nose down, picking up speed. At nearly 11,000 feet, he pulled the yoke back and rolled the Q400 into a full barrel roll, an aerobatic maneuver no airline pilot would ever attempt in a passenger plane. The aircraft completed the roll, wings level at the end, still flying. On the radio, Russell's voice cut through. He sounded almost amazed at what he'd just pulled off.
Concentrate so much on flying the airplane.
Hey, you think if I land this successfully, Alaska will give me a job as a pilot?
You know, I think they would give you a job of doing anything if you could pull this off.
Yeah, right.
For a few seconds, a 76-seat commercial airliner flipped upside down over Puget Sound, flown by a man with no pilot's license. The maneuver stunned both controllers and pilots listening in. The Q400 kept flying, circling the sound in a pattern that made no sense to anyone watching from the ground or tracking from the tower. A controller's voice cut through the static, steady and measured.
No, I'm not taking you to any jets. I'm actually keeping you away from aircraft that are trying to land at SeaTac.
Oh, okay, yeah, I don't want to screw with that.
On the open frequency, Russell's tone swung between nervous jokes and uneasy awe, but the tower response never wavered. Controllers quickly moved the conversation to a private, discreet frequency. Standard practice for emergencies meant to keep the airwaves clear and reduce panic among other pilots. Control was the priority.
Yeah, not quite ready to bring it down just yet, but holy smokes, I gotta stop looking at the fuel because it's going down quick.
Okay, Rich, if you could you start a left-hand turn, and we'll take you down to the southeast, please.
This is probably like jail time for life, huh? I mean, I would hope it is for a guy like me.
Well, Rich, we're not going to worry or think about that, but could you start a left-hand turn, please?
Every suggestion came without a hint of alarm. Controllers offered nearby runways, step-by-step instructions, and reassured him about the aircraft systems. They coaxed him to consider putting the Q400 down at a military base or a quiet airfield, stressing how they could guide him through every move. The tone stayed steady, calm, and deliberate. Reassurance was the tool. The goal was clear and tactical. Keep Russell away from dense neighborhoods and city lights, nudging him to circle over Puget Sound instead of heading inland. Every question and answer had a purpose. Containment, not confrontation. Containment guided every request. Air traffic around Seattle emptied as controllers rerouted commercial flights, carving out a buffer zone in real time. Even as Russell's flight path grew more unpredictable, the controllers stayed focused on buying time and keeping options open. Behind the scenes, other teams coordinated with military command, but on the frequency, it was all reassurance and quiet guidance, hoping to steer the situation toward a safe landing that never came. Time was the currency they needed. Two F-15C Eagles from the Oregon Air National Guard lifted off from Portland just after 8:15 p.m., racing north at supersonic speed. Their orders were clear: intercept the stolen Q400, identify, and monitor. No weapons could be fired without direct approval from the highest level. Every move was about control, not confrontation. The fighters closed in over Puget Sound, tracking the airliner's erratic loops from miles behind. On radar screens, 3 blips moved as one: the Q400 and its silent military shadows. Inside the cockpit, Russell's radio grew quieter. Controllers kept speaking, offering guidance, but his replies trailed off.
Well, if you can see the Olympics, the weather's good. I can see the Olympics through my window, and it looks pretty good over there.
Alright, because I hit some, felt like turbulence around right near, but there was no clouds hardly.
Oh, that's just the wind blowing over all the bumpy surfaces there.
The F-15 aircraft held their distance, watching for any sudden turn toward the city or a crowded area. They never fired a shot. Their presence was a warning and a last line of defense, but the threat never shifted outward. At 8:55 p.m., the Q400 began a steep descent toward Ketron Island. There was no attempt to land. The aircraft struck the trees at high speed, erupting in flames. Russell died on impact. No one else was hurt. The F-15 aircraft circled above as smoke rose from the woods, their mission ending not with a confrontation, but with a single, irreversible loss. Airport security today still relies on trust and routine. In a world where one insider can upend the system in minutes, every gap is a risk, not just a headline. The question now isn't if it could happen again, but how prepared we really are. Share your thoughts below.